Let's get into how to grow your web design business so you become the go-to expert that people love to recommend. I'm Natalie Lucier, founder of Access Ally, the online course and membership site and community creation tool for WordPress that really lets you design exactly what you want, the way you want, and sell it very flexibly. Story time. When I first started my web design business, which led to the business that I have today, I tried to do everything for everyone. I worked on any type of web design project that came my way. I did design, I did implementation, I set up email marketing systems and analytics, and pretty much anything you can imagine that had to do with someone's website. And sometimes this worked out, but a lot of times I was stressed out, working way too many hours and not feeling like I was being paid well for the work I was putting in. Because a lot of times my clients didn't even know the scope of what I was doing for them. They just saw the end result and they didn't see everything that was happening under the hood too. And then one day, everything came to a head when I delivered a design to a project and the client absolutely hated my design. I felt ashamed and I felt so bad in that situation because I felt like I had worked pretty hard on that design, but I also knew that there were some better designers than I was out there too. So that's when I decided to partner with someone who would focus solely on design while I did implementation. So what that meant is that I kept charging the same as I used to for building a website, except that I wasn't in charge of design. And then my partner who was doing design was also charging her own rates for design. And so we would quote a project together and they would see the full price that included both design and implementation. Since both of us were working in our zone of genius, this worked out so well and we got booked solid very quickly with this partnership. And also interestingly, my website design business finally reached that six-figure milestone the same year. So now that you know kind of how I got started in web design and some of the trials and tribulations that I went through, I want to share some of the common things that I personally experience and also see a lot of new web designers deal with and how to overcome them. Number one is to choose a niche. And yes, you've probably heard this before, but it is so important. I had to put it first and I don't want you to ignore this. So when it comes to web design, you can do so many things and you can spread yourself too thin and also not build your own brand and your own authority if you're trying to do too many things. It can be really hard to build a business if you're not known for a very specific thing. And that's because people refer you when they know what to refer you for. So if you've built websites for a dog training business and also a retail website, and you've also built personal brands, that can really spread you thin and you don't have as much of an expertise in one area. So if someone is looking for a retail website designer, they might not recommend you because they don't really know if that's your thing. But if you're able to really hone in on one niche or one market and one type of website that you get really good at, so many amazing things can happen in your business. Now, related to picking your niche or your area of expertise is really making sure that you're choosing a profitable area of business. And that's because a lot of people want websites. Maybe your sister-in-law wants a website, or your cousin or your best friend, and maybe it's just for a side hustle or they're just doing it for fun. But if you're looking for a serious web design business that grows year to year and makes you a consistent income that you can rely on, then you want to find business owners that are seriously investing in their website because they're going to make money from that investment. So these are the types of businesses and websites that I highly recommend that you look at and consider making your niche if you have an interest in them. So the first one is online course websites and sales pages for online courses. These tend to be very profitable. There's tons of people creating courses and they all want them to look awesome. Next, we have online retail websites. So this is great because people are clearly making money from their retail websites online and they don't want to be on Amazon or on Etsy. They want to have their own website and own everything. And so if you can really get into that niche, that can be really profitable. And then finally, there's membership sites and recurring types of businesses as well. So those are another great one because they have that consistent revenue, so they know they can invest in a new website. Number two is get clear on your boundaries. Get super clear on what type of work that you love to do and that you're great at. Yes, you can probably do all kinds of things, but are you really excellent when it comes to design? Or do you really prefer to do implementation and the coding side excites you. Or maybe you love setting up new systems and making sure everything talks to each other. Those are all things you can specialize in, and you don't have to be a jack of all trades. Not only is it okay for you to draw a line in the sand and say, this is what I do, this is what I don't do, it will also help you get paid better and get better at what you do. So that means you can learn the right tools, you can learn the right coding and the right design techniques that really set you apart and that make you a pro that people want to recommend. And the bonus to that is that you will probably have to network with other people in your industry who are good at the things that you don't want to do. So that becomes more potential referral partners where you can send people their way, they can send people your way, and that helps you build a more stable business that will continue to grow and get new clients over time. Now, boundaries also means how you communicate with your clients, and we'll get into that in a minute. Number 3 is to create case studies for your portfolio. People want to see what types of websites you've created and what kind of results you've had for your clients, and so that's where your portfolio really comes in. Now, if you're just starting out, you don't have a website, you don't have a portfolio yet, what can you do? Well, you might want to work on a project at a lower cost just to get your feet wet and get something into your portfolio. You might also want to work on your own projects and build something out that you think is pretty cool so that when potential clients come to your website, it's not a blank portfolio. Now, the key to creating case studies that really move people when they come to your portfolio is to focus on what people really care about in your niche. So that could be a bunch of different things. It might be the functionality of the website, like how quickly it loads, how much traffic they got after you optimized it for the search engines. Maybe it's how mobile friendly it is and how fast it loads on mobile or how easy it is to navigate. Maybe it's how many sales people got after they switched to the new version. Maybe it's also just the design, and just having a great screenshot of what you designed is going to be so powerful, people are going to say, yes, I want that. And truthfully, numbers make a big impression, so use them if you can. Start tracking before you go live with the website and then after you go live, so you have data to use in your case studies. And also, case studies are great too because it gives your clients a little extra love and promotion for them too. Number 4, design client onboarding and offboarding processes. If I could go back and give myself any advice for de-stressing my web design business, it would be to have better onboarding and offboarding processes. So whether you use a project management system like Asana or ClickUp, or an email marketing platform or CRM that lets you track your customers and clients and see where they're at in a project, I highly recommend that you have a system and a process in place for this. And by the way, if you're not sure if you should use ClickUp or Asana, I'll put a link below to my comparison video. So for example, you need to have a clear set of things that you need from your customers and your clients before you get started on their project. So maybe you need to really flesh out the scope. Maybe you need things like their logins or their logos or colors that they want to use for their branding if you're not deciding those with them together. And all of those things are really important before you get started on a project. Now, the same goes for if you're creating an online course or a membership area for your clients. You want to have all that content ahead of time, or at least enough to start populating the structure and putting things in place so they can just drop videos or other things later on. And this is where it's so important to have clear expectations for when you're going to communicate with your clients. So let them know how often you'll be in touch, and also some different touch points throughout as you complete maybe the halfway point and all of that, so they know what to expect and they know not to bug you if maybe they haven't heard from you in a little while. You can also have a great system in place where you touch base maybe every Friday at the end of the week, just to let them know what has happened during the week, what you've created, what you've gotten done, so they just can see the progress of the project. You'll also want to have very clear expectations of how many revisions they can ask for. This is really important because if this is unclear at the start of a project, this is where a lot of miscommunication and frustration can start into a web design project. Let them know how many times they can ask for revisions and how quickly you'll turn those around. And this ties into offboarding. So you want to have a clear plan in place for what happens at the end of the project. Here's the thing, the web is not set in stone. Once you hand off a web project, it's not really done. That means your clients will either have to learn how to maintain it themselves, which is totally awesome, and you can have some training for them to do that. You might have a second phase of the web project. Maybe there's more features you want to add, or you want to add a whole other section to the website, and you can definitely negotiate that once you get to the end of the project. project. There might also be just regular maintenance that needs to be done, so you might want to offer a retainer package to make those updates for your client. Either way, you want to have a very clear plan in place so that you know exactly what you're offering and what that's going to look like for the client. You might also have someone else that you refer to for maintenance or other things too. So whatever it is, have that plan ready before you get to the end of a project. Number 5, estimate your time and charge accordingly. It's so easy to give a ballpark figure on a discovery call with a potential client and then only later realize how much more time this project is going to take because there's something you hadn't done the research on or you weren't quite sure how complicated it would be. Trust me, I have totally been there and I have quoted projects way too low and then totally regretted it after. So here's what you can do instead. Instead, what you want to do is get all of the project requirements on a discovery call and then write them down. And then, of course, you can confirm those again with the client. But what you want to do is to multiply each of the items that you need to do and multiply them by the amount of time that you think they will take. Now, we're really notoriously bad at estimating as humans. So even if you get this wrong, it's totally fine. At least you have a method that you can continue to improve from project to project. So you might realize the first time, okay, adding a contact form is 1 hour, but then you realize that, it was a very complicated contact form and there were tons of fields and it actually took you 2 or 3 hours to make it look beautiful too. So just use that going forward as you realize what things are and how long they take for your projects. And when you're on those discovery calls, I guarantee you there will be a client that will tell you that they want just a simple website and that it will probably not be a simple website. What they actually mean is they want a clean and simple looking website that has a ton of functionality, and that's probably pretty complicated under the hood. So it's fine to take their words, but they might not understand what happens under the hood to make a simple website look and act the way that it does. So once you've used your formula and you've sort of multiplied some of those things that you know need to happen for the project, what I want you to do is to double your time estimate and use that to come up with your actual contract or project estimate when it comes to the pricing. And this is so important. I promise you that doubling it is probably still too low, but start there and see how it goes. Number 6 is document along the way. Whether you realize it or not, someone will have to maintain this website. It could be you, it could be someone you hire down the line, it could be the client themselves, or even just a completely different web developer or web designer. So the more you can document as you are creating the website or building out these items that you're building for people, the better. You're going to save yourself so many headaches from having to jump back into an old website that you haven't checked out for a while, or even to fixing issues that wouldn't have happened if people had the right documentation. Documenting your processes does not have to be complicated. You can literally record your screen with screen sharing software and keep those videos all together per project. And so while you're doing the web build or whatever it is you're working on, you will have documentation along the way. You can also write some of the important things like which tools you used or how you did certain things and where you put certain types of code so you don't miss any of those important details when you have to come back into it, or especially if you need to train new people. So you might realize down the line that you want to hire an assistant or another web designer or another web developer to work with you. And so you'll already have all of your documentation in place and then they can onboard way more easily. It will actually save you time and you don't have to feel like you're reinventing the wheel when you get a new team member. Not only that, but you can pass on this documentation to your clients themselves and they will so appreciate it, whether they actually use it or they give it to maybe their own team members or to their next developer or designer. And if you're thinking of hiring, I have another video all about hiring virtual assistants, so make sure to watch that one next. Number 7 is master your tech stack. In order to help you work faster and more confidently and be better at estimating for projects, it helps to really have a set of tools that you love and you know really well. So in your tech stack, you can have tools for, say, website building or designing or automation tools or course platforms that you really recommend. And yes, sometimes you will have to really convince a client to use it if they already have something in mind and it doesn't quite fit with the way that you like to do things, or if they're just not super informed about it, you might need to educate them a little bit on the options in the marketplace. But also, don't be afraid to try new tools if that is the case. So sometimes you will discover a brand new tool that you never knew was there, and it's even better than you expect. So I think that it's great to kind of be willing to step outside of your comfort zone when it comes to your tech stack, but also have maybe a clear boundary of where you will or will not go. So you don't want to spread yourself too thin and try to be a Wix designer, a Squarespace designer, a Webflow designer, and a WordPress designer. That is just too many platforms to try to master. So pick one or two platforms that you're really good at and maybe some other tools. So for example, maybe you really love a certain type of hosting that you're familiar with, or maybe you have a design tool set that you absolutely love. And if you're looking for a tech stack that helps your customers create the types of online courses, memberships, and communities that they've always dreamed of, then definitely check out Access Ally. You'll find out more at the link below, but in a nutshell, Access Ally is a WordPress plugin that helps you create offerings on your terms. So that means you can create everything from courses to memberships to challenges and free content all in one login area. And that makes it super easy for cross-selling and affiliate promotion and all of the other things that clients often want to do. Plus, it gives you so much flexibility when it comes to design and integration with other tools. So make sure to check it out today if you're looking for a course platform that works on WordPress and that does way more than your typical LMS or your typical membership site plugin. Now go ahead and watch my playlist for web designers so you can make your web design business even more awesome.